Yeah. You should see something like a loud audio.
I'll do always allow. So allow your voice to be shared. I said always allow. That probably explains why the last couple of times when Eric was doing his stuff, I couldn't hear myself.
That makes sense. Oh, cool. A lot of people like the post. I posted. Hey, for everybody that's checking this stream, please go to Facebook and check out M.M.K Prospects. That is M.M.K and then Prospects. We have many trailers for all the gaming videos, all the new movies, upcoming animes, and I've recently been putting together a few anime music videos that have been hitting the wall on Facebook. So please check that out. Let me know what you think, man. Thank you so much. So Mr. Black Zeus, aka Drityharry, aka Jbanger, aka J Buddha. How are you today, man?
I'm good. Just trying to recover. I'm currently in the middle of a water fast, but I'm holding on. Kind of like Vegeta did this last episode.
Yeah, man. It's those moments where you just need a Senzu meme and you can't find it, and it's like you may need that, and it looks like Vegeta's gonna need that for the next episode. For those that have not seen Dragon Ball Super 126, you may just want to mute the audio and look at the fights that are coming in a few minutes. There's gonna be a lot of talks of the episode. Starting with how I think Frieza is a scumbag, and I think that he's gonna betray everybody from Universe 7. What is your thought on that, Black Zeus?
Well, I think the most obvious conclusion that comes to mind is he's being saved because he will serve a later purpose or act as a plot device, and that plot device would more than likely be to be the last participant to make a wish upon the Dragon Balls, bringing himself back. Now, Frieza being back in the Universe 7 storyline, I'm not really sure how that would work, or how he would be engineered into any future plots or sagas, because somebody's just gonna kill him once he gets wished back. So I don't really see him playing much of a role, even if brought back. But who knows? I mean, Toriyama seems to be pretty creative these days.
I mean, with that being said, in the mangas right now, Frieza's not even in the tournament. In the mangas, Cell is in the tournament. So that right there is a big game changer. For those that don't know, normally the anime is canon to the manga, because the manga is normally first, but with Dragon Ball Super, the manga's canon to the anime, which is weird because it's like the anime came out first, then the manga dropped. So there's some changes in the manga versus the anime. One being Cell in the Tournament of Power, and Frieza not being there. So I wonder what twists they're gonna come about with all of this. But going back to the episode, I really feel like they didn't give Toppo any big glory. Like, they showed this immense power, showed him use one big major attack that can pretty much evaporate your whole entity. But outside of that, it was pretty generic. There was nothing spectacular about him. I mean, do you have any touches on that?
I feel like I didn't really have an expectation for Toppo, seeing how the last episode we got what we wanted, which was a power boost from Topo, and for him to be highlighted in a way that hasn't been done before. So I wasn't expecting him to like break through any more barriers or, you know, showcase his limits. If anything, I just expected him to just continue fighting and someone would eventually figure out a way to get past his God energy barrier. But in true Dragon Ball Super fashion, they took the immediate shortcut and said instead of using our brains, we're just gonna power up and power through whatever it is that's an obstacle. I mean, it was the same way with Hit and his time skip ability. Goku just apparently powered up and broke through everything, and it was pretty much reminiscent of Vegeta fighting Topo, because that's exactly what he did. He just pretty much powered up and just broke through all of the God of Destruction energy, which is just, you know, lazy writing in my opinion, but something that...
Wait. You know what, I gotta stop you for a second, because I remember when Vegeta, you know, first powered up, you had to complain about that, saying it was cheesy because of out of everybody you thought of Kaba. But yo, they gave you what you wanted, like you thought of his family, like, you know, like, you
yeah,
can't give them credit for that?
I mean, finally, he thought about his family, which was a surprise at this point, because he hadn't thought about them the whole time. But, I mean, for me, it's a little too late, you know?
Okay. I mean, you don't think that he knew his family was fine?
Fine in the sense of what?
Like, I mean, I don't think Vegeta ever thought they was gonna lose this tournament of power, right? So I don't think he never really worried about his family per se, you know. But then when Kaba got eliminated, and then his universe got eliminated, it really pissed Vegeta off, because that was the first person besides, well, yeah, that was the first person that really looked up to him, because young Trunks does not look up to Vegeta. He looks up more to Gohan. But in future Trunks, never really had a father in a sense, so it's like Kaba was Vegeta's first real, you know, skinny son, I was trying to say. I mean, do you agree or disagree with that?
I mean, I can agree with how you broke it down just now, because that does make a little bit of sense. If he doesn't expect to lose the tournament, then why would he be thinking about his family in a time of need? So I can give you that, now that you've introduced a different perspective. But I still feel as though everything's being rushed, and a lot of generic things are being copied. Like, the one thing I liked about where Super was potentially going was the fact that we were getting new ideas, new fights, new powers, new abilities, and new characters. But if you've noticed, a lot of the fighting has been very reminiscent of classic Dragon Ball fights, and even the resolutions to these fights are very reminiscent of old Dragon Ball fights, which is nice to get for nostalgia, but I'm expecting there to be a difference. Like, I literally thought during this episode that Vegeta, 1, would not have tried to blow himself up again, and then 2, I thought since they gave us the flashback, it was almost like a foreshadow, like, we want you to think he's gonna blow himself up, but instead he's going to, like, use all of this energy and do something else with it, something we've never seen him do before. Like, either transform it into the Big Bang attack. Like, could you imagine him turning that humongous orb of energy that surrounded him into the fucking Big Bang attack, and just launching it at Topo and just decimating and everything around him, like coating it with the God Key, like the yellow ball, coated in God Key, because apparently that can break through Destruction Key, and just completely smacking Topo right off the ledge, I think that would have been a more fitting end. It's reminiscent of the old days, but we're getting something new. Even though the technique isn't new, but it's just how he did it, which was just new. But no, we just got him blowing himself up.
Nah, well, here we go with that, right? Think about this. They actually played a lot of science into this. So it's like, the final explosion may have been meant to blow him up, but the destruction that Topo unleashed technically evaporated the I guess the outer core, which would have burned Vegeta and him alive, which would have pretty much disqualified both participants. But that's not what happened. It seems like what happened was Topo destroyed just the outer core of the final explosion and released all the Kai energy, which pretty much pushed him out of the tournament. But it wasn't enough to really kill Vegeta because it's pure Kai energy, which goes back into my statement I made a few months ago when I was like, Vegeta is going to end up doing something along the lines of final explosion to attain Data Voice Instinct. Which, in about 30 seconds after you say what you say, I have a big spoiler alert. That's a big assumption, but we'll see in a second. So, what do you have to say about that? Topo just destroying the crust of the final explosion, but at the same time leaving the Kai there, which pushed them off the tournament.
I think that's a fantasy. I really don't think that it's even vaguely that deep, to be honest.
Vaguely that deep? I mean, the destruction. So what did
I feel like you're giving them a little too much credit.
For real?
Well, how about these are the same people that said we're not going to think about how to beat time skip. We're just gonna have Goku power up and defeat it.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. I don't really think
science comes into play with any of these fights.
Well, this is the whole thing.
And there's nothing that suggests that happening anyway. Like I could see if, no, I don't see anything in the dialogue, anything in the interaction afterwards that kind of hints towards, you know, everyone almost dying hadn't Topo done X, Y, and Z. I really just think that's a fallacy.
Well, think about it like this for a second, right? I had this theory with Goku. After creating some of these anime videos, I had a good time taking a closer look at some of these fights. And two things that I noticed for the previous fight with Goku and Drityharry is when he first activated his Ultra Instinct, towards the end of the fight with Drityharry, he started losing. He started becoming like no more. He wasn't attacked no more with his Ultra Instinct. So it seemed like it was going away. His eyes were kind of flickering from the grayish silver to black. But I also noticed that when he pushed through that last moment and he screamed, it didn't sound like Goku. It sounded as if somebody was inside of Goku, as if he was fused with somebody when he screamed. And I listened to that little clip a few times and I'm like, whoa. Could it be? You know, I've seen it on the throughout the webs, you know, that somebody embodied Goku, but after looking at that clip, it kind of brings back the main point with the first Super Saiyan in the movie, you know, that the Dragon Ball Z movie that's coming out later this year. It kind of brings back a big point. With that, you know, I kind of dug a little deeper, and I was like, what if Hit literally just uses time skip against his opponents, you know, like and I mean literally just uses it. Like he can't fully access time skip, but the difference is Goku, after seeing Hit use time skip, it seemed like Goku was able to fully access the alternate dimension which time skip exists. Now this theory once again goes to another anime video I made again. It was like when he was fighting Kelpa, I noticed that when he was hopping back and forth, dodging Kelso on the ground, and he spun. It was either part of his arm or his hair went directly through her beam without getting damaged. And he noticed that, and he looked at it, and it was a quick glimpse, and it kind of went past that. And that's what kind of led me to believe that the difference between Hit and Goku's Ultra Instinct is that Hit just uses the time skip ability, right? And yes, I'm saying Ultra Instinct is basically the full acquisition of time skip embodied in a person. So it's basically like he's not there, but then he is there, kind of like what they did with Obito when Obito first came out, and he was like, why can't we hit him but he can hit us? So there you go, right there. So basically, what was it that Kakashi called it Black Zeus, the other dimension that he would go to?
I don't remember the name.
The Kumoi. I think so when he would use Kumoi, right? The way Obito used Kumoi in a sense was, hey, let me go into the other dimension so that when people attack me, they can't hit me, but then I come out of the dimension and hit them. So that split second, I'm vulnerable, right? My tie-in with that is like Ultra Instinct with Hit and Goku is in the same kind of like pattern. Like, I really feel that Goku has just fully acquired time skip to a level that when he's fully like fighting, he can hit people, but at the same time, when he's focused, people can kind of like just pass through him, or he got like super speed, or however it may be. It can be seen in two different ways. It can be seen as super speed, or it can literally be seen as people going right through him, which is kind of like what Disco was doing at one point, which is crazy. But yeah, like it was so much that I had to get out because it's like it's there, and I'm noticing these things, and I'm looking at it on the web, and all of these movies that they're talking about, and it's all kind of making sense to me. I don't know if you agree with that at all, Zeus, but what is your thought about most of that?
I completely feel like this is an ass pull on your part. I don't like mixing theories or pulling references from other animes because it's a whole different pantheon. So going back to that fight between Khalifa, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
It's Kelfa. When they transform.
Kelfa, sorry.
Yeah.
Kelfa versus Goku Ultra Instinct. I don't recall at any point where the laser beams went through him, and he very clearly dodged them by jumping on the rocks and the debris around him. And if he could just so-called warp through attacks as Hit did with Despo, then he would have no reason to have dodged that final attack that she threw at him.
Hey, wait, pause. I did say when he did it, even he was surprised. So it's not something that I think he knows that he can just basically do. But go ahead.
Okay, but I still feel as though that did not happen.
Okay,
and,
so
if a piece of a laser looked as though it went through him, then it was probably just an animation error or a point of view reference that, you know, from that point of view or that angle, it looked as though it went through him, but it actually didn't. And if Goku was surprised, I think he was probably surprised at himself for being able to dodge all of the chaos and kind of put his plan together and do whatever it was he was trying to do, because Goku's an experimental fighter and he continues to experiment and test his limits as he fights. So a lot of the times as Goku's fighting, he's surprising himself. But I don't think it had anything to do with him phasing through objects. I think if Goku had something like that, it would be a complete OP ability, and he would be able to beat almost anyone, gods included, if he could just phase through reality and warp through things.
So guys,
and that's never really been Goku's style anyway, as far as his fighting style, because if he's just gonna phase through things, then he has no reason to really train. He has no reason to get stronger and power up if he has like this ultimate Astro technique where he's like, oh, this attack is too powerful, so I'm just gonna, instead of overcoming it, I'm just gonna super sidestep it by going into a pocket dimension and popping out again. I mean, most times when he fights, he doesn't even like using instant transmission half the time. You know, he only uses it in desperate situations. So this is completely unlike Goku, and that's why I don't think the writers would even give him an ability like that.
Okay, I mean, I agree with that. But you know, the best thing about live streams is that we can actually take a moment to find a video where that moment actually happened and review it and actually talk about it while this is all going on. So what I'm doing right now is pretty much just trying to find that particular stream when Goku was dodging and that beginning moment happened. So we can definitely touch on any other points you would like to touch on right now, Zeus, until we can figure out exactly. Oh, there we go. Okay, I found it. So I was correct. His hair got clipped by the lasers, but his arm and elbow went right through her laser. And he looked at it as it happened. So I'm going to send Zeus the video now via the best site. You know, also check us out once again, M.M.K Prospects. Well, this video will be up there. I'm going to send Zeus a link right now with that video so that he can see it and give him a time so that he can see it as well. Now, I do agree that sometimes there could be an animation error, but not something as clear as this. So let's see. Okay. So this is a video, Zeus, and you would like, in order to see what we're talking about, you need to click at about start at 2:15. Yeah, start at, make it epic, start at 110, sorry, start at 110, not 2:15. Start at 110 and look at it there. It happens about 122. Yep, and he looks at it, yeah, so his hairpiece goes through it, and that gets chipped off a little bit, but his arm doesn't get phased at all, and he notices it. In the meantime, I'm gonna pick my character set.
Okay, I just saw what you were talking about, and once again, there was no evidence that he phased through anything. Nothing went through him.
So I'm confused. The laser that she was shooting out, that he was dodging, his arm went right through the laser, and then they went to his eye, looking right at that experience. Are you sure that we're looking at the same, like...
He just barely dodged it, that's all that it was. And him looking at it was just acknowledging that, okay, that was a very close call, and that I need to dodge these lasers because if I don't dodge them, I'm probably gonna die.
So...
There was absolutely no contact between that laser and Goku.
Hold on, I'm gonna look at this one more time.
You can freeze the frame if you want to, but I guarantee you there's no contact.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to have a live. Oh yeah, I don't know you probably mean. I wish there was a way to have a live discussion with our viewers. This would be so epic to have. It's like that gold dress that everybody thought was blue. I really don't get how this can happen sometimes. But let's see.
I think it's really wishful thinking on your part. And I mean, it would be nice for, you know, Goku to have some incredible new abilities, but nothing in the story is hinting at that. Nothing in any dialogue between him and any of these characters in the cast hint towards that. And the footage that you just sent me definitely doesn't prove that or showcase that in any way. So, I mean, I appreciate the wishful thinking, but you really don't have a leg to stand on with this argument.
I mean,
and I feel like when the people do review it, and they're gonna let you know in the comments that Goku didn't phase through anything.
Let's begin.
Okay.
Won't be able to block. This is the status.
I mean, we can just take it from the comments and see exactly what happens. I mean, we just have to take it one step at a time and see what they say. Hopefully, you know, you're correct, but who knows? Anything could happen in these next couple of episodes. Anything is possible.
But I know you weren't impressed with Topo this episode, but I was very, very impressed with Topo and how he's been able to pretty much hold his own against 17 and Frieza together. And I also like the fact that he had to hold back during his fight against the two because he didn't want to kill them.
No, that's completely wrong. See, the thing about that is Android 17 has a limited Kai, and everybody else that they're fighting are the strongest in Universe 7. So it's completely invalid for you to say that. Like, the enemy's built for Topo to be eliminated. So no matter what you might have thought in terms of how he held himself up, it was like fighting a losing battle at the end of the day. So he really didn't do anything but the destruction. After destruction, they really didn't display any of his powers, and that pretty much sucked. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people agree with that. I actually saw a few videos with like millions of freaking comments with people saying that they shouldn't put more Topo, but because they did it, people are upset about that. But that also lets me know that Topo's gonna be there in the future. So that's a good lesson to have, but no. Topo could have been a whole lot more, bro. A whole lot more. Android 17 was holding him off with pure Kai Blast. And when you think about that, it's kind of crazy that a basic person is holding him off. It's kind of like what Krillin did in the beginning when Dragon 2.
Well, first of all, Android 17 is not a basic person because he fought Super Saiyan Blue cold on sight. With no prep, with no understanding of how much stronger Goku's gotten since they had never fought in the first place. So I can't even begin to agree with that. And then two, once again, I thought they did Topo justice in the last episode. Of course, he can't win the tournament because they're building up to the Jiren versus Goku fight. So just off plot alone, Topo's losing the fight, just like we know, just off plot alone, Vegeta will never be better than Goku, no matter how much we love Vegeta. Now, as far as the dialogue in the episode, it's very similar. Like Topo very much felt like Jiren in this episode because a lot of times when you fight Jiren's holding back, and he clearly states that he's holding back. So I like the fact that Topo got this new power up last episode. He's starting to explore the limits of his power, which far exceed what Frieza and 17 can handle, and then clearly and directly states, I am gonna hold back because I cannot kill you and risk disqualification. But had this been a real fight with no rules, you guys would be in the ground right now. You guys would be in the other world right now as floating spirits, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. It lets us know, and it speaks to just how strong Topo really is without having to use him in the same way that they've done with Jiren.
Well, unfortunately, once again, I can't agree like that. Just like Jiren said, you're a disgrace. It's like, what did you do? You got all this power, and you don't know how to control it to the point where you can massively destroy somebody and take them out of the tournament. The only thing you know how to do with all this power is destruction. So once again, like I'm saying, it was a disgrace. Just like Jiren said. That's why at the end of the episode, Jiren said, "Let me show you something." Because the difference from Jiren and Topo is that Jiren, no matter what level he's at, he has full control. Topo proved that he's a jerk because he had no control. Dispo had more control of his unleashed power than Topo had, and Dispo's not even trying to be a god of destruction. And the reason why Dispo lost was because he got caught. Two people teamed up on him perfectly, which I feel like that was a write-off. I don't know why the hell Toriyama did that, but sorry Toriyama, I don't agree with that episode with Gohan disappearing that fast. Could have given more fame. I feel like Gohan is like the sore thumb of Dragon Ball, but whatever. But yeah, Dispo has way more control than Topo has. Topo had an opportunity to show all this exaggerated power and Toppo just destruction. Nobody cares about that. Like, okay, well, you're a god. Chopper has the same scream, and Beerus has his. You know, we know this already. You didn't show us nothing new that a god or a disciple of a god can really do, bro. Toppo.
I don't understand where in this episode or the previous episode Toppo showed a lack of control. If anything, he showed a masterful amount of control because he said, I am going to hold back so I don't kill you.
No.
And nowhere near in any episode did he have a struggle with controlling his own abilities. It sounds to me like what you wanted to see was Toppo demonstrate new techniques. But as
No. I'll tell you right now. When you're done, I'm going to tell you exactly what I wanted to see.
Okay, but as with most fighting games or fights in general, if I have a winning strategy and you can't beat it, then it's not on me to now change my strategy because you can't deal with that. You as my opponent have to find a way to deal with that. And because they were unable to find a way to deal with that, Toppo had no reason to change it up. Why am I going to fix something that's not broken?
Which
you
led
can't
to his
defeat my barrier / long range destruction Kai attack. Why am I going to start demonstrating other abilities that I have when you can't defeat that? That
led to his defeat, Zeus. Think about this for a second. When he did his most strongest attack against one of the strongest people in Universe 7, we thought Frieza was gone, but Frieza snaked his way on a little edge. That wasn't just a simple ride-in. Like, it's clear. Like,
that was a ride-in. Because 17 threw the rock that saved him.
Hold on for a second.
Clearly that was a plot device.
Yes, we got it. It was gonna knock him out. 17 threw the rock, and it kept him in.
That alone once again further demonstrates how powerful Toppo was because Toppo.
Hold on with the cutoff, Zeus. Wait 1 second. Let me just get my point out. When it came to using the same technique all the way through, led him to his defeat in the sense of when Vegeta came with his immense power. What did Toppo do? He did the same attack. It led him to his defeat. And I don't want him to do new attacks or nothing like that. Toppo was a skilled fighter before he went Mr. Oh, I'm the god of destruction. He was a perfect fighter, bro. But when he became a god, where did the fighting go? Or did it become mostly one-hit wonders? Destruction. I can evaporate you. I'm a god. So I'm going to use this move to destroy you. And that's basically what he did. This is why I understand why Dragon said it was a disgrace. Just keep it, like I said once again, when Dispo had to go to his final resort, and Dispo transformed, Dispo did the same attacks at a different pace, would ultimately let him get caught also, but he had more control over his abilities than, matter of fact, maybe I'm using the wrong terminology here. Maybe it's not about control. Maybe it was about, maybe it was Toppo's arrogance about it all. Oh, like I said, I'm a god. I have this move that can kill you. Why change it up? You know, and that's how I ultimately see it. It's like, why change up something that ultimately works? Cool, but when it don't work no more, you're going to lose. Prime example, Vegeta using a move that was clearly just as good, if not better than Toppo's destruction, because it countered it, and Toppo got knocked out of the ring. Oh, what's your thoughts on that now?
So, just so I understand correctly, you're no longer making the argument that it was a lack of control because that was just not present. And now what you're trying to say is that Toppo pretty much didn't try to outsmart Vegeta.
No,
Am I correct?
No. I never said that it has nothing to do with lack of control. It has to do with that, plus the fact that he was egotistical, and he felt that because he achieved this level, that all he really needed to use on a constant basis was destruction. And when Vegeta came out, it wasn't about outsmarting Vegeta. It was like you said, let's use the same technique again. And Vegeta came out and said, you know what? I wasn't thinking right prior to this, right? AKA, I don't know what the hell the writers were writing at that time, right? how about I think about the things that matter to me, like my family and etc., like Kaba and etc., and use that to give me the strength I need in order to succeed.
You teamed up with me.
Once Vegeta did that, Toppo had the dare in the headlight look like, oh my god, he was able to defeat this destruction thing, this thing that's so powerful that nobody can defeat, because I'm like, god. What happened? Vegeta beat it. Left Toppo.
Well, first of all,
I'm
Frieza
just
had
saying.
defeated it before,
Sorry, Frieza, sorry,
so
Vegeta.
it wasn't like impossible to beat.
You said who to beat it before?
I said Frieza was able to beat God of Destruction before.
I don't
as
think
far
Frieza
as that energy.
Wait, the energy?
Destruction
no,
Key, he was able to fight it
Oh,
off.
okay, before the other god, the other
And even
god.
when he fought Topo hit him with a lot of destruction Key, and Frieza for the most part did well with resisting it because he wasn't destroyed. So if you're hit
no,
with
you can't say that
Destruction
because
Key
2 seconds ago
and you're not disintegrated, then you have fought off the Destruction Key. Yeah, you'll still take massive damage, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do, which was destroy you on touch. Like,
so
like
are you
Beerus
saying
did to
that
Matsu.
Toppo purposely put out a certain amount of destruction key to not kill Frieza, but
No, that's
incapacitate him?
not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Frieza has shown ability to resist the God of Destruction Key, which is supposed to just kill you. So Vegeta being able to do the same thing is not considered an ass pull and is not even a surprise because it was already shown that it could be done with Golden Frieza. Now, as far as Vegeta and how he beat the God of Destruction Key, there was one part in the episode where Vegeta was punching through the God of Destruction Key when he coated his hands or his fist in the God Key from his Super Saiyan form. So there was the plot device. Now you have a device, something that can counter God of Destruction Key and can give you the advantage over Topo. But what did they do? They went for the ass pull instead. I could have accepted him doing the same exact thing, but it being the blue God Key energy, because we already prior to that event saw that key can break through God of Destruction Key. But instead, they did the complete opposite and just used his Super Saiyan energy to break through.
No,
Which has been shown.
Wait, hold on.
Which has been shown does not break through Destruction Kai, because when he did the Final Flash, it destroyed it as it was being thrown at him, and all of his other Ki blasts, which were yellow and just Super Saiyan energy. So what happened at the end and how Topo was defeated was really a complete ass pull. You had introduced a method in which was smart and could work against Topo, and instead you resorted back to a previous method that one didn't even work on Boo when he first did it, and then applied it here and said, this is how we're going to get rid of Topo. I mean, I don't really understand why you can't recognize that this was just bad writing and a complete ass pull because they have to wrap up the episodes in what I think the next 4 episodes. They have to wrap everything up. So I'm really struggling to see where you're finding the validity in what you're saying here.
Because the reason why I'm saying this is that your opinions, what you're saying right now, it's pretty much turning into a thing that this is what's gonna happen. Like, your opinion is basically saying they messed up this episode. So what is your expectation for the next episode?
You said the same thing. You said the same thing about Gohan when he fought Despo, and I would agree with that.
This is the
because they pointed out, hey, we're gonna give Gohan a new power during the tournament.
Hold on.
And then in the tournament, they never gave him that power. Instead, they did the same Kamehameha finish that he used to, I believe, beat the Namekians. And then they did the same thing with Despo.
It's not Gohan.
Or at least they tried to do it with Despo, but Despo countered that.
Bro, it's not Gohan's time right now. That's it. They bodied him. It lets you know that that Dragon Ball itself is not going anywhere. But like I said,
no,
with you,
what it was is they wrapped it up because they didn't have time to do what they needed to do.
This is it. Maybe you like being surprised, so that's why you have to downplay it in order to be surprised when it changes. But I understand the writing plot behind it. Yeah, it's stupid to you because you probably had a different expectation or felt like they should have went one way, so of course it's stupid. But the reality here is that yeah, Vegeta did unlock something. We didn't see what he unlocked yet. That's not, but you're not looking at that perspective. And also, when he was using Final Explosion, just because Piccolo said, is he using that move again, and it showed a flashback, it doesn't necessarily mean that that was a move he was trying to use. Maybe he was trying to power up. Maybe he was literally trying to access a new level. For a second, I thought maybe they would actually take it to the point where he might go Super Saiyan 3. Who freaking knows? But what I do know is that something else epic is going to happen before this ends, especially because Jaimin is going to another level, and Vegeta is in the same state that Goku was in prior to him turning to Ultra Instinct. So well, I know that you feel that. Hold on for a second. I know that you feel that Frieza is a plot twister and he's going to betray them, and it is weird that they didn't show Frieza in the lineup and stuff like that. It confuses me, but it might be a thing where they may let Vegeta borrow their Kai, sorry, and in order for him to go Ultra Instinct or whatever it may be. But I have another theory down that line that I don't think Goku can go Ultra Instinct for my own reasons, but we can talk about that after.
Well, you saying that just because they gave that flashback and Piccolo gave an explanation as to what he thought was going on, but that might not be what's going on, you might as well discredit everything that's ever been said from the sideline. You might as well not even call Goku's new form Ultra Instinct, because that was all sideline talk. Goku didn't confirm that with nobody. Same thing with a lot of the different strategies and methods and things that were going on in the tournament. No, those sidebar conversations are there to add the additional information that they can't add because people are fighting. And during a fight, people aren't like, hey, this is my new technique and this is how it works, because they're in the middle of a fight. So a convenient plot device is, hey, we're going to have Wiz and Beerus talk about it, or the Grand Priest, because even the Grand Priest was like, oh, he broke through his shell as well.
So where did you get these facts from?
So
the fact that you're saying right now, right, where did you get those from? Because what you're saying
those are coming from characters in the series that are saying these things.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is okay, who is it to say, right, that because they're saying these things, that it actually means that's what it is? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, you know
like,
what?
There's been a many animes that I'm pretty sure you've looked at, movies and TV shows that we looked at, where people say things and then it's like a rock being thrown at somebody when it's supposed to get kicked off the Tournament of Power. It's just put there because it's put there for, it could throw you off, or it can be what you're saying. I agree. It could be exactly what you're saying, but there's been times where things get thrown off, bro. Like, there's been this whole thing about Goku attaining this Ultra Instinct form by tapping into the first Super Saiyan that was ever alive, which is the first movie that's coming up. It's supposed to be all about that, right? And they're saying that when Goku goes into that form, it's not even really him. It's actually somebody taking kind of like over him in an instant, right? What if that was the case and it wasn't really a form closer to God or something like that, closer to being a god? Like, I don't know, like, there's so many ways you could think about it, but you consistently think that the writing sucks. So, like, it's confusing.
I've been saying that from the beginning. Everything has been broken from the beginning of Super. So I'm not gonna sit here and put all of these elaborate schemes together when time and time again they've shown that it has nothing to do with an elaborate scheme. It's just a convenient plot mechanism, and that's it. Like, and there's nothing but countless evidence throughout the Tournament of Power, and even before the Tournament of Power, that supports everything that I'm saying right now. So you talking about, oh, the Topo destroyed the outer crust where the heat would have destroyed everybody. That's fine and dandy, but let's not give credit where credit is not due here. They've done nothing of the sort since the tournament's begun. They've broken damn near every Super Saiyan form known to man and only made Blue relevant, and Blue isn't even relevant anymore because of how the power scaling has changed throughout the last few fights of the tournament. So once again, I don't see things. I don't see what evidence that you see, and I almost to a degree feel like we're watching two different animes because I'm really missing a lot of what it is that you are discussing. And I would very much encourage people in the comments to point out where Mateo might be correct, because I'm not saying anything. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be schooled, and I encourage all those listening right now to start filling up that comment section with these facts, because I don't know where they're coming from.
Well, I mean, I don't think either of us are making any facts. Everything that we're making is opinionated, because at the end of the day, we're not divided. So it's like,
yeah,
it's
but
just one of those,
these opinions are based on facts and what we've seen, what's been established.
Right, your opinions are based on what
so clearly it's been established that what is being told on the sidelines is what's actually happening.
No, right, but these are not your facts. I'm talking about.
So
there's a difference, bro.
Now, so now,
of the show,
I don't understand why Piccolo doing the same thing now on the sidelines is so different than the Grand Kai or Whis or anyone else that's said anything from the sidelines. They've all explained each other's abilities from the sidelines.
Okay.
Piccolo doing that, and the technique, and then the flashback, and then the technique being identical, I don't see